Greetings, everyone. This is Christopher Messina coming at you from the Messy Time studio, May 17th, 2021. And we are pondering whether we should be appalled or honored by the fact that the evil death cult Hamas in the Gaza Strip heard our Abraham Accords podcast recorded on May 10th and used it as an excuse to start firing rockets into Israel. Less facetiously, the death cult doesn't require any provocation whatsoever to rain murder down on Israelis and anyone they consider their enemies, including other Arabs and Muslims who are, in their view, collaborating or being in some ways amenable to the illegal Zionist occupation of what they view as their own territory. The world is watching this happen once again. And for those who are a little bit baffled, our discussion of the Abraham Accords, which was a set of bilateral peace treaties between Israel and some of her neighbors, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan. In our opinion, that is the right step towards peace, right? That we're going to finally stop this perpetual insanity and these decades-long hatreds leading to nothing but more death, misery, displacement, lack of economic development, all the things that rational people would want, which would be peaceful relations with their neighbors and the ability to raise their families as they wish, religiously as they wish, non-religiously as they wish. And the Western media, of course, and sadly, a bunch of airheads in the United States and Europe, falsely believe that the death cult Hamas that has stolen control of the Gaza Strip in some way speaks for quote unquote the Palestinian people. They don't. They're terrorists who hide behind children. They hide in hospitals. They hide in mosques. They fire rockets indiscriminately into Israel in whatever way they possibly can. They try to dig tunnels to send murdering lunatics into Israel to kill women, children, and men indiscriminately, versus the Israeli Defense Forces, who call ahead to tell people that own a building where Hamas has been running its offices, they've got their communications equipment, to minimize the loss of life, telling people to get out of the way. It is our opinion at Messy Times that this is oddly, and in a way that we mean this just sort of objectively, given the facts on the ground, given the fact that there are a bunch of horrific death cult murderers in Gaza who are trying to, commit more violence, trying to advance their agenda. They have no hope of winning a war against Israel. What they're hoping for, which is really sick, what they're hoping for is a really great Photoshop or Photoshot, or really Photoshopped, of children's bodies lying strewn in the streets because the evil Jews, dropped a missile on a school or something, a school from which, of course, Hamas is shooting rockets daily. Thus far, they have not been granted that wish. It was much like that silliness a couple of years ago with the supposed settlers, or the right of return, people kind of rushing a fence while people standing behind them are lobbing grenades and rocks and things at the Israeli forces who are holding the border. Is all theater, compounded by the fact that the evil prick that supposedly runs Hamas doesn't even live there. He's living overseas. He's hiding overseas in comfort while people are living in desperate circumstances. So the Israelis have been resolute in protecting themselves. They should be. And I ask all idiots, including supermodels in America, that if you're living in Hoboken and people in Camden were shooting rockets at you, what would you suggest that the people do in Hoboken? Nothing? Call the UN? Admit their wrongs for being residents of Hoboken versus residents of Camden? It's madness. You never, ever, ever accept the one bomb going off of your town. Never mind hundreds, if not thousands, of rockets being shot at you on a daily basis. So our biggest concern here is that they are trying to disrupt the Abraham Accords. They're trying to get those awful pictures of Palestinian youth or women who've been damaged through hostilities that Hamas has instigated, and their hope is to put pressure on the locals in those countries to demand their governments stop playing nice with the evil Zionists. My prediction is that that is not likely to happen. That the only way, as I said, to look in this in a positive light is that it is quite possibly we're seeing the last gasp of Hamas. If the IDF has to go into Gaza and finally clean up all these people, line them up against the wall and shoot them, then great, right? The Palestinian people will be free of this. And if the Israelis handle this intelligently, they can instantly integrate the Gaza Strip and the other territories into the Israeli economy smoothly. And that's our hope, right? We've coming up on two very holy days in Islam and Judaism. Eid has come upon us at the end of Ramadan, and Shavuot is being celebrated today by Jews around the world. So there's hope here that eventually this nonsense will end. As many wise commentators have said, that about this particular long-running, raging conflict. If the Israelis put down their weapons, there'd be no more Israel. If the so-called Palestinians, meaning the terrorists who are trying to attack Israel, put down their weapons, there'd be peace. So let's hope for all concerned that all the violence stops very quickly. Let's hope for all concerned that the resolution is the correct one and that the march towards peace is not interrupted, that there is, in fact, a set of cool heads prevailing, even in the midst of all this horrific nightmare. And may this be the last time that rockets are ever shot by Hamas into Israel. That would be a wonderful thing. So we're gonna leave on that positive note in very trying times. Humanity has gone through trying times before. Wars have begun and ended. This one is trundling along, sadly, but we can only hope that the Israelis prevail and the international community, which thus far has been wisely kind of staying out of it, aside from the usual bromides of, we'd like everyone to stop shooting rockets at each other. But there's an increasing awareness that these evil monsters at Hamas do not speak for Islam, do not speak for the Palestinian people. And the sooner they are eradicated from the world stage, the better everyone's going to be. So until next time, turn off the news, tune into Messy Times, and let's all pray for peace.